everyone, welcome back to Owen's Treats. Today we will be making Mardi Gras inspired king cake bites. I hope we all know the classic king cake that we usually have at Mardi Gras, but sometimes it's just too expensive or it's too hard to make. So I found an alternative that we'll be making today called king cake bites. It's just a miniature version of the king cake that we all know and love. So let's begin. What we have here is 1 packet or 8 ounces of cream cheese, 1 cup of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of lemon juice, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1 can refrigerated croissant rolls. Then for our glaze that we're going to be putting on top of these bites, we will need the 4th cup of powdered sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk, and we will need sprinkles. So what we need to get started is that we're going to need our teaspoon of lemon juice, our cream cheese, and our 1 cup of powdered sugar. And we're also going to be needing our blender, big bowl. So what we're going to need to do is start off by getting our cream cheese. Now, a very helpful tip for this cream cheese is that you always want it to be softened or at room temperature, because when it's too cold, then it will not work. We're going to pop that in there, and then we're going to cream this until nice and smooth. And then it won't get stuck to the blender palette, so you will need a spoon to scrape off the sides and continue to kind of blend this into a creamy paste until it does not stick and does not form vine clumps, and it's almost like, here we go. Now the cream cheese is looking nice, sticking to the sides of our bowl, and not sticking to the palette entirely. We're going to then add our powdered sugar, and we're going to be adding this in increments while it is blending. We're going to stop halfway pouring, and we're just going to scrape down the sides of our bowl, get anything off the blender. And while mixing this mixture, we're going to add in our lemon juice. Here. And now that everything is combined into a nice even mixture, it should almost look like buttercream frosting. Now we're going to move on to our next step of shaping the dough. What we're going to need is our cinnamon, a sharp knife, and we got our croissants. Now what we want to do is that we want to roll this out nice and even. And then our cutted lines here, we're going to pinch them up. Now that's all nice and smooth. We're just going to kind of flatten it with our fingers. And then we're going to start cutting. So we're just going to go down the middle of the first line. Just like that, so we split it up. Then we're going to do this again on the other side. Just like this. Repeat on the other side. And there you go. 8 separate pieces. And then 1 across this one, just so it's easy to pull apart. Now you won't need flour or anything because it already has enough grease on this to easily peel off your table. Also make sure your surface is well cleaned and that there's nothing on it that'll make our dough dirty. I have scrubbed this table 1,000 times. So then what we're going to do is that we're going to start shaping our dough. We're going to kind of pull out the sides little at a time. Okay, here comes our seam. Sometimes the seam likes to show up again. Just kind of want to pull that away. So there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we just kind of want a rectangle. Then we're going to take our cinnamon, and we're going to sprinkle it on here. And then we're going to set this off to the side. Then we're going to repeat this process with all 8 of our dough pieces. And there we go. Now we have a baking sheet where I have my oven preheating at 350, and we have our nice dusted dough. So what we're gonna need is our nice little mixture that we made earlier. Set that off to the side. We're gonna grab one of these. We're gonna take a spoon. I have the one from before. We're gonna take a glob of this mixture. We're gonna put it into the center of this, and we're gonna spread it on the middle of all of these. Like this. And then we're going to repeat this process 8 times. And then now we're going to move on to our next step, which is the fold. So we're going to take one of our pieces of dough. We're going to stretch out the sides. This is where that helpfulness came in. And we're going to just roll them over on top of it. Move this out of the way so you can see. I've just simply take one side and roll it on top. And then I'm pinching that seam very lightly, not hard. And then we're going to fold this on top of it. And kind of pull and stretch very, very gently. So I get something like this. Now these guys are going to be the least from perfect forever and ever and onwards. Because they're supposed to be messy and they're supposed to be delicious. We're not going for the looks here. Now I keep washing my hands to keep everything clean because I like to keep everything clean. So our next step is quite simple. We're going to take our rolled dough and we're simply just going to cut it. And we got these little nuggets. And they're full of the cinnamon and full of our cream cheese mixture. Now, I like to cut these into 3 equal parts. Not so equal. But we're going to get a lot of them just from 3. I've made these before. We're just going to line our baking sheet with these guys. And there we go. All of them are nice and lined up. Now they're not perfect. They look like they're all misshapen and lumpy. And that's perfect. That's what we want. So we're going to pop this in a preheated 350 oven, like before. And we're going to put these in here for 13 to 15 minutes. But I like to go in between, so I do 14 minutes. So we're going to pop these in the oven and we're going to work on our glaze. So we have the 4th cup of powdered sugar that we capped from before. We have our 2 tablespoons of milk, or I guess you can say, I like to go with 1 tablespoon depending on how much glaze you want. And this is optional. You can add vanilla or not because it tends to have a little bit more of the powdered sugar taste than the actual nice glaze finish. So sometimes I like to add maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla. Now let's move on to our glaze. We're going to add in our powdered sugar and just a tiny bit of milk depending on your ratio. Not too much. You don't want to start out with too much. We have our tiny whisk. We're going to mix this in a tiny bowl. What you want is that you want to have, when you pick it up, it should just, the ribbons of the glaze should just disappear inside it. And now if it's too runny, you'll tell because the mixture likes to separate, so you can add more powdered sugar. But if it's too lumpy, you'll tell, so you want to add more milk. This is also the part where I'm going to add my little bit of vanilla. There we go. And now that we finished our glaze, we're going to pop this into the refrigerator to let it chill until our wonderful nuggets are done. Now that our king cake bites have finally cooled from going on the oven, they look amazing, as usual, nice and messy. We're going to glaze them, and then we're going to add sprinkles to them. The primary colors for Mardi Gras is green, yellow, and purple. We're going to skip pink, even though I like the pink. Let's skip on it. So I have the frosting here. I kind of just whipped it back into shape after it's been in the refrigerator for a little bit. And we're just gonna take a tiny dollop. I swear, it's just like the tiniest thing. And then we're gonna spoon it onto the mixture. They're so tiny that they don't need much of the frosting. So this is like more than enough. There you go. Now that they're all frosted, we're gonna move on to the sprinkles. I gotta be fast about this. So I'm gonna pick one color. I'm gonna do the yellow first. I'm gonna pour a whole bunch into my hand. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle them on. You don't want to do it too generously because we still have to make room for the other two colors. And there we go. Our Mardi Gras king cake bites are all done. They look amazing and I can't wait to eat them again. Thank you guys for joining me on this video and I'll see you next time.